Hello and welcome to the First Listen Guy channel. I'm the First Listen Guy and welcome to Sleep Token Sunday episode 13. We have finally come to the end of This Place Will Become Your Tomb. And this particular album has been about the journey of dissension, of descending from Atlantic, which was the very first song on the album after Bloodsport. Obviously, there was From the Room Below. But ever since we started this, we have been getting deeper and deeper in the ocean. And are we about to hit rock bottom? Now, for me, this whole thing has been a journey of the Anima projection of Atlantic. Something traumatic happened, and I feel like we have seen glimpses potentially of what this trauma is, or certainly the catalyst. And maybe the trauma is still even buried deeper within the psyche. But we've definitely seen sort of some of the suffering and the emotional suffering from that in Atlantic. And it was almost like the ego had started to self destruct. And this whole journey since then has been getting further and further into the unconscious with the anema projection, which started to deteriorate pretty much, I would say, after alkaline. I think alkaline was, oh, sorry, previously to alkaline, I think there was this obsession about the anema projection, which he had projected onto a lover, right? I'm assuming a woman, but we don't know that. But he does keep saying she, so I'm assuming a woman. But then Alkaline was really the first moment where he had visibly seen in his psyche the anema. And then a few of you in the comments were like, oh my God, you got to go and check out this scene in the Alkaline video where there was a shadow of a spider. I, of course, went and did some more research and some digging. And in Carl Jung, the spider is the devouring mother. And you can either be the prey, which is someone that's caught up in the web, or you could be the spider itself, who is creating the web, as it were. But it fits very, very nicely, I would say, within the theory of everything that we've been discussing. And then if you take from alkaline into descending and distraction, or distraction and descending, I think it was, then the anema projection went from kind of obsession to actually starting to collapse. And that's kind of where we are at now. The anema projection, this relationship that he has been so obsessed with, infatuated with, and also emotionally in love with that person, but not real love. Love that he thinks that he needs to make himself feel better. But there's this whole cycle, isn't there, where it keeps collapsing and it keeps deteriorating, and nothing ever really comes good from any of this relationship. So I'm interested to see where we're going to finish up with telomeres, high water, and missing limbs. So yeah, it's going to be a wild one, I think. All right, first listen, telomeres. Okay, so before we go into the song, let me just read out what telomeres are. So they are protective caps made of repetitive DNA sequences of proteins found at the end of chromosomes, much like a plastic tip on shoelaces. So they protect our genetic data from degrading, fraying, or fusing with neighboring chromosomes during cell division. So essentially, you could say there are sort of biological aging clock. And I guess within what they represent mortality, time, decay, renewal, and also the limit of life, right? So how is this going to translate into this song? I have no idea, but let's click play and find out. As always, I've got the lyrics here to my right. Oh, I'm so excited for this.
You guide me
Oh, just the piano again.
As you breathe me out, I drink you
Oh,
in.
okay.
And we go beyond the farthest reaches where the light bends, erupts beneath us. And I know as you collapse into me, this is the start of something.
Oh, okay. It's going to be one of them, isn't it? It's going to be one of them. Oh, I could feel my heart going already. Um, And sorry, I didn't mention about how far we are as well underneath the water, 9,104 meters below sea level. And we are getting deeper and deeper into the unconscious, right? Within Carl Jung, which is the lens that I'm using, water represents the unconscious. So this whole journey has been about going deeper and deeper into the psyche of Vessel. And we've spoken about the ego, the persona, the mask that he wears, and the shadow, sleep, the psychopomp who's guided him up to the end of Bloodsport, up into the precipice, the threshold of the unconscious, where he's met the anema projection. Sorry, and then follow the other episodes. I'm not going to explain it all now. But right, we've got a beautiful love song here, and this to me, let's break down what we've heard so far. Right, so you guide me into safety and silence. As you breathe me out, I drink you in. Oh my God. Okay. So you guide me into safety and silence. This is feels like surrender. And for me, off the bat, I'm thinking it feels like because he's surrendering to the integration of the anema projection. Because he now knows from Alkaline, right, that he has been projecting this fantasy onto another person, right? He has tried his hardest to make it work, to believe that it's real, but the anema projection has broken down and it has collapsed. And in order to become whole, you have to self integrate all aspects of your psyche, right? Ego, persona, and the anema projection. Now, once you start to self integrate the anema projection, it almost acts like a guide to your to becoming whole and becoming your authentic self again, right? Because you start to understand it, and it brings out all these inequalities that you've been projecting back into yourself. So this feels like a glimpse into what wholeness potentially could feel like to him, right? Um, so you guide me into safety and silence. Now, silence is within. And what was this song where he's talking about screaming silence? Oh, I can't remember now, but there was something about screaming silence, which was basically inside his mind it was screaming so loud, but on the outside, externally, people looking at him would think he was totally fine. This now is integration, right? Because he's being guided into safety and silence within himself. There's no more screaming here. As you breathe me in, I drink you. Sorry, as you breathe me out, I drink you in. So it's almost like they are exchanging breath, right? She is breathing out and he is taking her in. So the ego and the unconscious are beginning to almost exchange energy, right? They're becoming one organism here. We go beyond the farthest reaches where the light bends and wraps beneath us. That's just beautiful. Now, psychologically, right, the ego has limitations where the unconscious isn't bound by limitations, right? There is no end. It's infinity. And so you could say we go beyond the farthest reaches is again talking about the unconscious. You know, we can go wherever we want to go in this space. There are no limits here. And where the light bends and wraps beneath us, I mean, you start to kind of feel like or think about, you know, um, space. This is a kind of it's almost impossible not to think cosmically here. You know, talking almost like black holes. You know, when the light bends around a black hole, it's almost like that. So psychologically, when he's saying where the light bends and wraps beneath us, they're almost entering a place sort of beyond rational consciousness almost. You know when you're kind of almost sort of holding someone and you feel like you're on cloud nine, you're suspended midair. It's almost like that kind of feeling where reality just doesn't exist anymore. You're in the sort of cosmos, or almost. um and I know as you collapse into me, this is the start of something new. And what's really interesting, if you go back to, I think it was Descending, he was talking about collapsing himself, right? And the anema projection starting to collapse. Now, what he's saying is, I know as you collapse into me. So the anema projection is starting to integrate back into his psyche here. It's not about sort of possession or anything like this. This is a surrender of something naturally sort of falling back in, isn't it? Collapsing. This is the start of something new. Well, that is the start of individuation. And the way that this is feeling, it is feeling like a love song. It's almost like there's peace, there's happiness, there's relief. And could this be the start of something new? Could this be the moment that he's been waiting for? Okay. Right. Let's go back a little bit because the drums kicked in R2.
Something
Oh, I hope so.
and ocean
Ah, see, there's the water again.
we
Oh, hi hat.
could your eyes and your lips are instruments
Oh.
to pick apart the distance within.
Oh man. Right, sorry, I've got to stop that there because that is huge. Right, let's just bring it back a little bit. Um, okay, so he starts the second verse with rivers and oceans. I mean, again, he's talking about water. This is what this whole album is about. It's about water, and what does that symbolize in Carl Jung's psychology? It's the unconscious, right? But when he says rivers and oceans, so when he's talking about rivers and oceans, we could beckon. They're talking about we could go anywhere here. It's kind of almost going back to there's no limitation, right, within the unconscious. It's like rivers and oceans. It's every type of kind of water, any type of unconscious path, area, side, wherever it leads us to, we will go and we will go together. And then this bit, Your eyes and your limbs are instruments to pick apart the distance within. And he's highlighting distance within. It's not distance kind of between us or anything like that. Distance within. So, so you could say, are they picking apart the distance within between the conscious and the unconscious? And she's here, as I said earlier, once you start to integrate the anema projection, she turns into almost like a guide-like archetype, right? And so she's helping him now pick apart that distance between the two. Now, you could say as well that there's a distance between the two people externally in a relationship. And that totally fits the bill as well, right? That they are coming together closer and closer as one finally. But through our Jungian lens, it's the distance between the conscious and the unconscious, right? Now, there is something I'm going to, at the end of this, kind of do a bit of a summary of this whole album. And I definitely think that there are two layers to this album, possibly to Sundowning as well. But really, with this, where you do have the physical relationship that he refers to, but then underneath that, as that is playing out, you've also got this subconscious sort of psychological battle as well happening that's running, I think, simultaneously alongside all of this. And I might even do a further deep dive once we get through all of these albums of actually looking at the relationship and then how that translates to this kind of Jungian psychological lens. Because I think that'd be really interesting. But anyway, let's stay on track. So that's what I think that kind of represents there. Let's go back and listen to some more. By the way, the drumming as well on this is beautiful. And then, oh, can you hear the wailing in the background? Oh, my God, those drums. Right, okay. I just want to go back through these last this last bit of lyrics here. Um, so let the tides carry you back to me, the past, the future, through death. My arms are open. So let the tides carry you back to me. Again, we're talking about water, about the unconscious. Let the unconscious bring you back to me, to his self, to his real, authentic self. Um, and what's really interesting as well, that if you kind of go all the way back to Atlantic, right, his use of water was terrifying to him. He was scared almost of it. Now it's completely turned on its head. You know, he doesn't fear water, the unconscious. He's wanting it and he's letting it guide him to where he needs to get to. The past, the future, through death. And what's really interesting here is that telomeres, right? They are the measurement of the biological lifespan of a chromosome, right? And with this line, the past, the future, through death, he's almost describing a love or a psychological love here that almost exists beyond the biological limits, which is really interesting. Oh, and what happens? Oh my God, something's just come to me now, which I'm really, really hoping this isn't going to happen. But what happens if a chromosome cell starts to divide and divide and divide through its kind of, death, as it were, because I can't remember what the word now, there is a technical term for it, but when cells start to divide, um, they become cancerous, right? So I'm really, really hoping this isn't the case here. But could that mean that actually what he's going through right now, this integration, this bliss, this happiness, it's not going to last forever? Is that what that line, through death? But right now he's blinded by what's happening, right? By these emotions. And he's enjoying the fact that it transcends through reality, through life's the lifetime itself. But what he doesn't understand is what the potential consequence of that could be. I don't know. I'm just throwing things out there right now. And then he ends with, "My arms are open." And I think this is a really telling thing because this whole journey so far is him almost kind of begging, clinging on to things. Whereas this really is the first time where he's gone, "I'm open. My arms are open. I am surrendering. I am willing to surrender," which is so important in terms of self-integration. Right, so I think it then goes back to the chorus, doesn't it? Let's take it from here. God, what a lyric in ethos. It's like cradling. Oh, oh. Oh, go on, Vessel. Forgive me if I'm wrong, and please tell me if I'm wrong. But is that the first time that we've ever had a full-on guitar solo within a Sleep Token song so far? I might be totally wrong, but I mean, that feels like an interesting choice within this song. And it makes you feel great, right? Who doesn't love a guitar solo? So I don't know. This band makes you overthink everything. Oh yeah. And notice how the drums are more stripped back. It's Two's turn now. That double bass pedal then. Oh, with that fill. No way. I've got to hear that again. Oh, two. Oh, oh. Oh, what a stunning, stunning song. See this, oh my God, this is like interstellar vibes, isn't it? We're in space. We've transcended almost. This is the start of something new, which is interesting because that's really interesting because, when we first spoke about what does This Place Will Become Your Tomb mean as an album title, we were talking about sort of the transformation, right? Descending through the unconsciousness to hopefully transforming and it's starting to integrate. And we came across the anima projection. Um, we've come across the devouring mother, the sort of the symbolism of the spider within alkaline, and all of this. And now the anema projection is collapsing as the relationship with this other person is starting to collapse at the same time. And now the anema projection is starting to integrate into his unconscious and the conscious, the ego here, picking apart the distance between the two so they become one. And it's the start of something new. High water. All right. First listen. Let me just get the lyrics up here. Before we get into that, something else has just sprung to my mind in terms of telomeres, because what's really interesting with the Jungian um, lens, and something that Carl Jung says, that with individuation and shadow work, something has to be given. You have to lose a part of yourself in order to grow, right? And I think there is a correlation there between telomeres, you know, it gives itself away to protect the chromosome, right? And every time it gives itself away, it loses a bit of itself in order to grow. And I think that's kind of what that song in particular was about. He is letting his ego slowly but surely disappear whilst integrating the anema projection in order to become whole, right? And you have to let go of everything that you thought you were, strip away your ego bare, or your persona, the anema projection, everything, to then be able to then rebuild and self-integrate everything and rebuild your wholeness again, right, into something new, starting something new. So I think that's kind of where maybe Telomeres comes from in terms of the song title. But High Water, let's see if this is the start of something new. Before we get into High Water, let's talk about the song title, High Water. So, High Water, literally, is in the water level is high. But if we take the psychological standpoint of water being unconscious, high water, so are we in the deep, dark corners of the unconscious now? We've just had the anema projection starting to self integrate, and the distance between the unconscious and the ego, the conscious, starting to get closer and closer together. Hmm, interesting. So let's see how this plays out.
For the time being,
Oh, it's synths.
I will still avoid my own questions, and we both bury that history deep. But I can hold my breath forever. For the time being, you are still a perfect reminder of what all of these scars on my arms are for.
Oh,
If I can hold myself together,
what?
and I throw myself on sacred paper,
I've got
waiting
that
on
progression.
some holy favor, basking in the solace of regret.
Oh, damn.
And it seems my hell is your high water. Wash me clean again before I pull myself beneath the waves.
Oh, right. I'm just going to stop it there before we kind of go any further. And I was just letting that run because I wanted to see how this was playing out, because this doesn't feel like what I was thought it was going to feel like after Telomeres. So let's break down the lyrics. So for the time being, I will still avoid my own questions. So for the time being, he's basically saying, right, for now, I'm still avoiding my own questions. It's basically going back on what he's just been talking about. It's like, for now, I'm going to avoid myself. I'm going to avoid my own thoughts. That voice inside my head, I'm just avoiding it. And this is This is what Sleep Token does, and this is again is all about the cycle. It's not linear. This is not a linear story playing out, and with psychological warfare almost, and you can go all the way back to Bloodsport. He talks about it there. You can 1 minute feel like you're getting there, right? You're starting to feel better, and then the next day your whole world crumbles again, and you can't fathom it. There's no rhyme or reason as to why this happens, and that is exactly the journey of integration. It takes time, it takes energy, it takes effort, it's exhausting, it hurts, it's painful, and it's never straightforward. So you've gone from telomeres where the anema projection is starting to self-integrate. He knows exactly kind of what's going on. It feels wonderful. It's starting to get a glimpse or a taste of what it means and feels like to be whole again, to feel like all that sort of weight has gone off his shoulders to this, where he's gone, actually, I can't do it. Or I'm not going to think about it, or I'm going to put that to one side, or this is sounds to me like a relapse. We both bury that history deep. So again, from a human layer, you could say this is about someone else, right? Two people refusing to discuss the issues within their relationship. Or from the Jungian side, you could say the ego and the unconscious are burying their past. Again, they're not opening up to it. They're burying it deep again so that nothing gets resolved. And I can hold my breath forever. Oh God, that's beautiful. And I think what he's kind of meaning here is I can hold my breath forever. I can endure this. I can live inside my own thoughts and unconscious and endure this pain because that's all I've ever known. That's all I've ever done in the past is weather the storm because he feels comfortable there. And self integration is not comfortable. And so he's reverting back to his old pattern. Oh my God, you are still a perfect reminder. Right, all of these scars on my what all of these scars on my arms are for. And he's not saying you are a perfect lover or a perfect person or whatever. He's saying you are a perfect reminder. So he's talking about memory now. He's talking about the past. So he has realized, right, that this relationship between the ego and the unconscious, what's just happened in telomeres, and also in alkaline of seeing the anema projection for what it really is, a fantasy. And what he's saying now is that I know that what we had is in the past, and you are a perfect reminder. So as I keep going over these memories, I keep thinking about the trauma that happened there, right? All of these scars on my arms are for. So you could say again, if it's taken literally about the self-harm. So every time I look at my arm, I look at myself in the mirror, I think of you, I think of the hurt, the pain that it caused me, that it caused you as well, because he's not the innocent party here, right? And this is one thing that I want to come on to right at the end is about grief and guilt, because it runs the whole way through this album. Um, Scars on my arm. But from a psychological standpoint, if you're saying what all of these scars on my arms are for, I'd say that it's every attempt that's been made to survive has left a mark on him psychologically. But either way, the scars are now memories rather than the open wounds with the bandages on that he used a lot in previous songs. Oh, the development is just it blows my mind, and the callbacks to previous lyrics is just insane. This is a real journey happening in front of our eyes right now, whether that's literal relationship human layer or psychologically. It's just incredible. If I can hold myself together, it is almost like, if you go back to Telomeres and he spoke about she was collapsing into him. Now he's talking about if I can hold myself together. And when someone talks about some, trying to hold myself together, it means it is fracturing, it is fraying, it is splitting. So it feels like the self-integration that was going so well in Telomeres, that kind of ecstasy that he was feeling of being, transcended into an other world is now fraying, and he's trying his hardest to hold on to it here, but it's starting to fracture. I choke myself on sacred vapor. So sacred vapor, you could say uh incense is the first thing that comes to mind, smoke. It also represents some kind of, uh sacred ritual, maybe. I don't know. But whatever it is, it's choking him, it's suffocating him. Um, I mean, you could also almost say it's like choking on hope itself, right? And then waiting on some holy favor. He's waiting to be saved by a miracle, right? By something interfering with this process that's actually going to say, "Don't worry, I've got you. All will be fine. This is this. We'll make it work." But he's hoping on that, and hope alone isn't enough. This is one of my favorite lines, by the way. Basking in the solace of regret. And when you're basking in something, if you're basking in the sun, right, you're enjoying it. You're just lying there, soaking it all up. But he's basking in the solace of regret. And funny enough, it goes back to what I was just saying a moment ago about another line about being comfortable in regret, being comfortable in pain, in hurt, in a fractured relationship or a fractured mind, because that's all he's known for such a long time, and you could also say about the self-harm, it brings him relief and he basks in it. And my hell is your high water. What beautiful, beautiful imagery there. And he says, my hell, so he's in hell, is your high water. Oh, so you could say, like, the thing that is hurting him is where she feels most comfortable. So you could say that the high water again, it's the unconscious, right? And this is where the anima projection feels at home because that's where she lives. And for him, that's uncomfortable. That's where the pain is, or not even pain, sorry. That's where the unknown is for him, right? And he's scared of it because he doesn't know what's going to happen. It's the unknown. And in order to self integrate, you have to go into the shadows and integrate the unconscious. But for him, he can't do that. That's his hell. Basically, he's saying that the ego can't, or he feels like can't survive in the high water, in the dark, deep depths of the unconscious. That's what he thinks. Wash me clean again before I pull myself beneath the waves. I mean, cleansing is again, it's very ritualistic, isn't it? Wash away all my sins, cleanse me clean before I pull myself beneath the waves. It's almost like he's preparing himself. So he's just gone from the fear of the unconscious, it's my hell, but it's your high water, to wash me clean before and wash me clean again. He's using it again. So he's been here. He's tried to do this before, and then he's relapsed and he's regressed. So it's almost like he's saying, I know what's coming. I'm going to prepare myself before I pull myself beneath the waves, before he then succumbs again to the unconscious to try and integrate the anima projection. And in order to do this, right, you have to strip away the ego. The ego has to just dissolve into the unconscious. Okay, think that's where we've got to.
Since my hell is your high
That
water,
progression.
wash me clean
Clean.
again before I put myself beneath the waves.
Oh, ooh. Oh my God, that snare is so fat. Can you hear the echo on it?
When the month of infinity buries its teeth in me, I'll smile through the agony for you.
Smile through the agony for you. I'll smile through the pain.
Know you still bear the weight of your own existence, and you'll never bear the weight of two. And
Ooh.
I show myself my sacred
Oh, oh my God.
solace of regret.
Oh,
Since my hell is your high water, wash me clean again before I pour myself beneath the waves.
oh my God.
For the time being, I will admit my defeat again. I will accept that I can't pretend we will ever be together.
Oh, wow. Right. I need to stop it there because I need to bring it back. These, oh my God. And something, I don't know if I'm right. Oh my God, I'm excited. Right, I'll stop. When the mouth of infinity buries its teeth in me, ugh, again, going back to mouth, jaws, you could say, referencing that, thresholds being consumed. So when the mouth of infinity buries its teeth in me, so you could say again, the mouth of infinity. So if we talk about the infinity being the unconscious, right, as we were talking about in telomeres, there's no limitations to the unconsciousness, right? Buries its teeth in me. So as it starts to sink into me and take control, right? Um, Now the unconscious isn't always, it's not a friendly place. It's not comforting. So you could say encountering the self almost feels like the death of the ego, right? That is what Carl Jung refers to. It's the death of the ego in order to become whole again. And kind of feel like this is what's happening here. It's about the death of the ego being consumed by the unconscious, by the high water. It's being stripped away, which for someone who has, oh, sorry, I'm going to get, for someone that has lived for such a long time in regret, basking in the solace of regret, and that's all they've known, it is such a painful realization that that person that you were has never been enough. Hence why the anema projection, that longing, that fantasy that your mind creates and puts on someone that has never ever been the right person for you. Smile, I'll smile through the agony for you. He's willingly suffering for this person or for the integration to happen. I know you still bear the weight of your own existence. You'll never bear the weight of two. So he's almost recognizing that this other person also carries a burden, if you're talking on a human level about the relationship, that this other person bears weight, right? They carry burdens as well as he does. And this is the first time that I think he's ever actually recognized the other person in this type of way or in this frame of mind. And then he says, "You'll never bear the weight of two." Now, this comment, you could say, bear the weight of two. And he's talking to either the other part of his psyche or the other person in the relationship. For me, bearing the weight of two, oh God. So this line, he's saying you'll never bear the weight of two. He's basically saying to this other person, yes, you have all these burdens, right? And these all these goings on, but you'll never carry what I've been carrying, whether that's two identities or the fact that he's been carrying both of them within this relationship, within this fantasy. She's never really been into him, or she was at the beginning, but that's obviously started to fall away at the wayside. And he's constantly trying to carry both of them within this relationship. But from a psychological standpoint, you can say that I've been carrying both the ego and the anema projection. And you don't understand what that feels like to carry the weight of both those things and the toll that it's taken on my body, my emotions, my mind. And then for the time being, I would admit my defeat. I mean, that is surrender. I accept that I can't pretend we will ever be together. I mean, he's basically saying now, if you're talking about a relationship, the relationship is over. It's finished. But if you're talking at it from a Jungian psychological standpoint, you never truly possess the anema projection because you have to surrender to it and to integrate it, right? So he's saying here, I accept that I can't pretend we will ever be together because the ego disappears when you start to integrate the anema projection and then, become your authentic self again. And so the two actually never really amalgamate together or bind together because one ends, one disappears. And you could say, go back to telomeres, that's the part of himself of the um, the plastic tip at the end of the shoelace that dissolves away in order for a new sort of cell chromosome to start. I mean, this all intertwines and interlinks just so beautifully. I can't hold myself together, which is the final line, right? And what's really interesting here is that he's not saying that I don't love you anymore or I can't do this or I can't hold myself together, which for me is the ego bare naked saying, I'm dying. It's the realization, that moment within yourself that that old you is no longer going to be. And I think high water, this is rock bottom. This is the bottom of the tomb of the ocean. We've hit it because the death of the ego is the start, potentially, of something new. Okay, let's carry on.
Will accept that I
Oh, we've
can't
still got quite a bit to go in this song.
pretend we will ever be together.
Right, just stop it. That's why I was getting excited. Let me just play you something. Let me just go on to Spotify, right? So those synths in the background, do they remind you of something? Hold on. Let me just see. Here.
Show me those pretty white shorts. Show me
Not
what.
joking. Hold on, just go back a bit.
Together,
It's that bit there.
we will ever be
That's Jaws, right?
together.
That's Jaws. Oh my god. No, 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 no. Right. Oh my god, is he doing a load of callbacks here? Because this is mad if this is true. What was it called? Gethsemane, right? Gethsemane, go and check it out. I did a reaction. It's one of the first songs I reacted to with Sleep Token, and it's probably one of my favorite songs. Although I haven't deeped the lyrics, but musically, I'm not joking. Let's, where is it? Right. Fifth. Is that sped up? I'm not joking. That sounds similar, right? I'm not going mad here. Oh my god. Got that drumming. Came in like a dream, put it down like a smoke. She used to be a team, now we let each other go. Yo, cigarette, I still clinging to my clothes. I don't wanna sit around, I just wanna let you know. Honestly, there's not something else as well, is there? Oh, damn, I might be just making this up now, but hypnosis. Where's that bit? That's that little synth in the background. Sounds remarkably like. Can you hear it? It's definitely the same sound. No, that's genuinely blown my mind if that's the case. I mean, I might be way off the mark here, but holy, do you know what? That's actually, I think, probably just gone to the very top of my list of Sleep Token songs. That was an absolute banger. The drums, musicality, the sound landscape, the lyrics, the meaning behind this whole thing. I mean, wow. I generally thought, with Telomeres being such a sort of lovely love story almost of the start of self-integration, you've got this, and it's crazy, isn't it? We always picture things being rosy, and once you start the journey of something like self-integration, that everything's, that's great. You've started it, fantastic. You're going to feel so much better. No, you feel worse before you get better. You lose a part of yourself before you get better. Well, we still got one more song to go as well. This is crazy. Right, this is mad. Next song, Missing Limbs. Yeah. Jeez. This is going to be a long one, so please bear with. Right, Missing Limbs. Let's talk about the title because straight from the bat, you don't even need to be a genius to figure this one out. Something is missing, something is gone. And if you're talking about limbs, right? Limbs is a part of your body. Missing limbs, there's a part of yourself that is either missing, disappeared, dissolved, gone, whether that's indefinitely or for a period of time, I don't know. But if you take what's just happened with high water and the ego disintegrating, dissolving away, and the high water, the unconscious taking over, this is what sounds like the beginning of self integration, the painful, emotional side of it. Let's see what missing limbs is going to bring. Just the guitar. Gosh. It's like Telomeres with a piano. So bare.
Just to let me know if nowadays the outer realms of heaven don't keep up on the charm offensive anymore. Failing to remind you what you're living for. And I'd give anything to borrow your indifference. I'd drink you in to temper your belief in all my promises, to swallow my desire and choke on
Again, choking.
it. 'Cause it still makes my blood run cold to remember what they did before. The stories that you never told to me.
Oh.
Oh, but worry not.
Oh my God.
Blessings rain like bottles in the heavens lost.
Oh my God, when that piano came in. The guy is just an absolute genius. He is an absolute genius. Such a talent. God. Right, let's just bring that back a bit. So we're 10,924 meters. I really, can someone tell me, is that the bottom of the Atlantic? Do we know? I can't remember. I think I looked into this at the beginning of how deep it was, but we are obviously very, very deep. But I'm interested to know because that would tie in nicely, wouldn't it? Right. So let me just get the lyrics. Just let me know. And what's it's the tone, right? It's the tone of this song so far. It's not anger, it's not fear. It's just it's almost like he's come to terms with what's happened and he's exhausted. And it's a just tell me. Just let me know. Just tell me. If nowadays the outer rounds of heaven don't keep up on the charm offensive anymore, how does he think of this stuff? I mean, the outer rounds of heaven, I mean, it's almost like the kind of outer rounds of person, right? If you take heaven as the symbol of the person that he was either projecting, it could even be uh, the um, the ego as well that he had and the persona that he had created for such a long time, sorry. You could even talk about it being the anima projection as well that he projected on that person. And basically what he's saying here is that even heaven isn't convincing him anymore. So again, the whole anima projection, the whole relationship, it isn't working its magic on him anymore. He's seeing through it, which if you've been in that relationship and you've fought for it for such a long time and you've tried to give them the love that they want and they've tried to give you the love that you want and you've now realized that actually it's never been real, Imagine what that does to one person's mental health. Failing to remind you what you're living for. And I think he's actually literally talking to someone else here, to the other person, right? Failing to remind you what you're living for. Well, actually, no, it could still be a dual thing, right? So if you're taking it as on a human level, failing to remind you what you're living for. So he's realizing that he can't actually rescue this other person. He can't tell her why life matters because she has to do that herself. But also, he could be speaking directly to his ego that failing to remind you what you're living for because the ego has died, it hasn't got any reason to live anymore because it's been stripped away. I'd give anything to borrow your indifference. So because you could also, so maybe this relationship, then she's walked away and she's walked away indifferent, right? She feels nothing. There's no regrets, there's no grief, there's no emotional loss there. And he's saying, I want that. I would love to be able to have that indifference of not caring about this emotional turmoil that I'm feeling. I would love to be able to take what you're feeling. I'd drink you in. And what's he said this, didn't he, in Telomeres? I drink you in. He's saying, no, so he said, I drink you in. Here he's saying, I'd drink you in. And it's almost like back then it was all about unity, right? And the union of two things, the unconscious and and the unconscious and the conscious coming together, right? This is feels like more like desperation because it's almost like the exact same image but a completely different meaning. I mean, how clever is that? Temper your belief in all my promises, to swallow my desire and choke on it. It's almost like he finally knows that he can't save this. Temper your belief in all my promises. The promises don't even convince him anymore. And then to swallow my desire and choke on it. He's swallowing it up, he's keeping it inside. And do you know what? The sad thing is that it's suffocating him. And the crazy thing is that he knows he now has to do this in order to progress and develop and integrate. And this is all the painful aspects that I feel like he's kind of describing right now. Um, right, I think that's where we got up to. So let's just take it back a little bit.
What they did before, the
Uh,
stories that you never told to me.
ah, okay, no, I've missed a few lines. Bear with. Um, it still makes my blood run cold. Oh, this is such a good line and clever writing because blood, I would say, represents more like the body, right? If water represents the unconscious, blood, and he's used this a lot in sundowning as well, represents the body. And he's saying it still makes my blood run cold. So although the mind is moving on or trying to move on, his body, i.e., the missing limbs, his body still feels the emotion of that, of the loss of the relationship, the loss of the ego. It's still it's the muscle memory, which then could lead into what is it called? Phantom? Is it phantom limbs? I want to say. When someone has had the tragic accident or an operation of removing one of their limbs, right? Amputated, but every so often it still feels like they've got that. That is what I'm kind of getting from this, right? The ego is gone, but the body still feels it or still feels its echo in some kind of way. To remember what they did before. Now, who the hell is they? I mean, in a literal sense, you could go, they are. people go back to Atlantic, it could be the people standing on, by the bedside, the doctors, past relationships, family members. It still makes my blood run cold of what they did to me or in this relationship from, I guess, a psychological standpoint. You could say it's all the complexities, all the archetypes, of sleep, of the anema projection, of the spider, the devouring mother, all the things that they've done to me to get me to this point. It still physically hurts. And the stories that you never told to me. So again, he's realizing possibly that he never actually knew her, as in the relationship, because it was all a projection. So all those stories that you never told to me, you could take as she never spoke, truly opened up to him because he was never truly listening, because it was all a fantasy. Um, okay, I think that we've caught up now. Right, this is just God.
Oh, but worry not. The blessings rain like bottles in the heavens halls. More polite advances won't last for long.
Oh,
Eager apprehension is wearing off. I'd give anything
yeah.
to balance your conviction with certainty. To fall asleep without you lying next to me. To sever my connection with everything. 'Cause it still makes my blood run cold to remember what I did before. The stories that you never told to me.
Oh my God, Vessel.
And it still makes my blood run thin to remember what you are to him. And I live like I've got missing limbs for you.
Ah. Oh. Oh. Well, that's like, oh, that noise at the end there sounds like something taking over something, doesn't it? It's coming from the back to the front. It's a movement. And is that now being completely enveloped, engulfed, swallowed up in this psychological tomb? Right, let's just take it back. Um, but worry not, the blessings rain on battles in heaven's arms. My polite advances won't last for long. I mean, blessings rain on battles in heaven's arms. I kind of feel like this is saying that growth only comes from conflict, right? The battles. So saying the blessings rain on battles in heaven's arms, and my polite advances won't last for long. So he's finally giving up. And do you know what's beautiful? Polite offenses. It's not, dramatic in any kind of way. He is quietly, politely giving in. The eager apprehension is wearing off. So apprehension, you could say, is like anxiety, right? And the eagerness of it sort of coming on, is wearing off. So there was something that was terrifying him, causing him apprehension and anxiety, which is now wearing off. So could you say the unconscious now, the anxiety that it used to bring him is now wearing off, i.e., again, like the line before, he is accepting and he's quietly surrendering to it. I'd give anything to balance your conviction with certainty. So he wants certainty. And he's realizing now that if you're taking it from a human layer, they were always speaking a different language. And this kind of feels like the last kind of bit of him trying to understand her, whether that's the physical human being in that relationship or the anema projection, which is now collapsed. But I think he's kind of almost trying to just finally once more understand what's happening or why it happened. To fall asleep without you lying next to me. I think this is huge because he's basically saying now he wants to sleep. He wants to go to the unconscious without her, without her lying next to me. So you could say now that on a, again, within sort of reality, the realms of reality, that the relationship he's now, it's over, it's finished, and he wants to sleep by himself. He wants to go on with his life without her. Psychologically, you could say that he wants to go into the unconscious, willingly surrendering to it without that anema projection because it is now integrated. To sever my connection with everything. I mean, that sounds on the surface level really, really extreme because it could sound like, he wants to kill himself. But I don't think that is the case from the Jungian lens anyway. It is losing and severing that tie with the anema projection. It's like severing everything, right? Because that's the world that he's been living in that has meant so much to him for so long, right? And he is severing it all, which is such unbelievably sad to someone that is all they have ever known. And they've put all that time, effort, energy, all that heartbreak, hurt, whether that's self-inflicted or inflicted by the other person. But to sever my connection with everything, to let it all go, let everything rest. And that does change everything, right? Because when they disappear, when the anema projection, when the ego is stripped away, when the relationship is finished and gone, what is left? Now, this is what it pricked my ear to remember what I did before, because I think he said earlier what they did before. Um, and the responsibility here has shifted from them or her or you to what I did. And that is integration. It's looking within, taking responsibility and accountability for it. He stops blaming externally and he starts reflecting on himself. Stories that you never told to me. So it's repeated again. You could say that he's really finally recognizing that the relationship existed partly in the imagination. It still makes my blood run thin. Again, earlier, I think he said, let me have a look. It still makes my blood cold. Yeah. So now it's thin. So it's like he is emotionally drained. This is this is it. To remember what you are to him. I mean, you could take this so many ways, right? That the other person in the relationship is talking about another person, right? Another guy, and it makes his blood run thin or cold. Sorry, what was it? Thin or cold? I'm getting mixed up now. Thin makes his blood run thin. Yeah, to remember what you are to him, to this other person, right? Which is crushing as well. But also still to remember what you are to him. So you could also talk about the relationship between the anema projection and the ego, and it still makes his blood run thin, his body ache, that missing limb of the relationship between the anema projection and the ego and what they had. It's almost like he's standing back now, like I said, and he's reflecting on everything. It's all lined up in front of him, and he can clearly see now what is happening. I'll live like I've got missing limbs for you. I mean, that is exactly what anema projection is, and then the start of self integration. It is piece of your own identity that has been taken away from you, stripped bare, dissolved, in order to then integrate with the unconscious and the shadow and the trauma and all those emotions to start that process so that you can then become your authentic self and whole again. And I don't know if you remember, but I was talking about the deep sea journey with sundowning and how Carl Jung uses the symbolization of the sun's journey from the sky descending down below the surface of the sea, which is where we are right now, hitting rock bottom, and then the transformation happens, and then you have the journey of the sun coming back up above sea level into the sky again. Is that the correlation with this album? That the sundowning hit that threshold. You had Atlantic where something had happened, the trauma, all these emotions, the ego starting to collapse, going through down the depths of the unconscious, through all these different songs of relapsing, of meeting the anema projection, seeing the anema projection, realizing what it is, then taking a back seat of what it would feel like to be whole with telomeres, and then you've got high water where the ego realizes, it's collapsing, I'm dying, I'm being succumbed and overwhelmed with unconscious thoughts. And then you have missing limbs, the realization that the old self has completely dissolved away now, and I am left with what? And I think that is the key question here when we go into Take Me Back to Eden. If I am not the person I am before the descent, then who am I now? And I'm eager to know if Take Me Back to Eden answers that question. Wow. Anyway, what a ride. What a ride it's been, and what an incredible album. I've never ever listened to an album like that. I mean, Sundowning was spectacular, but this, it was very, very different in terms of soundscape, musicality. A lot of synths were used, and drum pads and electrical kind of instruments and sounds were used throughout this whole album. And there was a lot of space, a lot of echo to create that expansive kind of, I guess, depth of ocean. And when we talk about This Place Will Become Your Tomb and what that album title stands for, I think the tomb is where the ego dies. Let's see what happens next. But anyway, I'm the first listen guy. That was my first listen of Telomeres, High Water, and Missing Limbs. And episode 14, next Sleep Token Sunday, will be the start of Take Me Back to Eden. I love you and leave you.
Welcome to the show. I'm the first singer, taking it all in. Let the record play, let the journey begin.